And welcome to another digital conversation. I'm Dia Davidson. Eating healthy and finding all the best organic and gluten-free ingredients can be costly and time-consuming, but there is a place that can take all of the stress out of that. Wild Time Cooking is just one call or one click away. Joining me today for today's digital conversation is owner and chef Allison Davis. Allison, it's always good to see you.
I love seeing you.
Well, you have been a godsend in my
Thank
family
you.
because my mother found out she's gluten intolerant. And so it was a matter of, oh my gosh, how do we feed her and how do we know what to do?
Yeah,
So
and we've been having this conversation, you know,
Yeah.
just about gluten-free diets, and really just, I think, a trend that we're seeing in a lot of people that are just getting away from gluten-free products, soy products,
Right.
and even dairy-free sometimes, just kind of just eliminating those things out of their lifestyle.
And we thought at first it was just kids, but now we're finding folks 50 and older are starting to get sensitive. So let's talk a little bit about it, because at first you think, oh my gosh, I'm just going to have to be, you know, on a water and twigs diet.
Yeah.
But as you can see from our table, it's growing.
Now, the gluten-free market is huge, and
Right.
I mean, you can pretty much find a substitute for just about anything, and it'd be gluten-free. I mean, to the point of, like we said, like potato chips for kids.
Right.
But what I even have started to find is just learning how to read your labels. To me, I think that's one of the most important things, is just learning how to read products and kind of see what it is that is going into it, because now the companies are being more transparent, and I think that the consumers are demanding that we request to know what's going into our food.
And we're getting more savvy because of folks like you are teaching us that just because it says something on the label,
Right.
flip it over and just see just
Right.
how pure it really
Well,
is.
and I mean, Americans are known for marketing,
Well,
right?
yeah, we are.
I mean, we have definitely seen how marketing can just influence us to where we just don't question it, you know?
Exactly.
And so now we're starting to be just more educated in the food industry as far as what we look for in our foods.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you do over at Wild Time. I know for my mother, bone broth. It was like 2 days and her voice was clear, she was feeling better. What's so great about chicken and beef bone broth?
So bone broth is a process, and you know, I think it does first again come back to the ingredients, because when we make bone broth at Wild Time, we're using organic chicken, pasture-raised beef bones, all fresh vegetables, some herbs, aromatics, and really it's just a slow process in a large stock pot with water covering the bones, and then just letting it simmer over time to where we're just able to extract into the broth all of those great nutrients from the vegetables and the organic bones.
But now, is this something that people can do at home? Because like Soup Pure has a product that you can mail order and get, but to come and get it from you, it's a little fresher.
It's local.
And it's local,
You know,
okay.
we're getting organic, local bones from farms that are certified organic right here in Kentucky that are in surrounding areas. So for me, I feel like that's an added benefit for us here, that we're getting local antibodies, you know, in our food.
Gotcha.
And then, you know, it's Kentucky proud, and so, you know, I'm always a big advocate for supporting local from the farm to the table. So that's, to me, a big benefit. You can certainly make it yourself. I know a lot of customers and a lot of friends that will make their own.
Right.
It's just a process, you know, so you might have a pot simmering for a day or two on your stove, and your house is smelling very fragrant, and you may or may not like that smell in your house for a long period of time. So it just is, you know, if you know the steps and know how to make it, then, you know, absolutely you can make it at home.
There are
but if
lots of
not,
options.
we have it pretty much all the time available, and then we freeze it as well, so that you have the longest shelf life from the point of, once we strain it, we'll freeze it. That way when you thaw it, you have about 5 days to enjoy it.
Okay, so there are a lot of options on doing that. So can't get any fresher than out of the sea.
So yeah, so as far as like gluten-free and the whole just gluten-free meals, we have a meal program as well at Wild Time, separate from our cooking classes, and we actually have a paleo cooking class coming up and a ketogenic cooking class.
What's that?
Ketogenic is all low carb, but it's the higher fat, so it's learning the good fats and focusing in on those. But still low carb and eliminating gluten. You really are seeing that across the board. From, I don't know if you've heard of the Whole30 diet, but it's a big diet across that kind of took America. It was a cookbook that came out and a whole program that they have, about 30 days gluten-free, following no sugar, and it's like a 30-day challenge.
But this is not really a fad. This is really a health concern for a lot of people, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, gluten sensitivities, you know, and your mom was just so open about her feelings, is as soon as she started to eliminate those things, she had more energy, probably felt, you know, just better all around.
And she got rid of this like hoarse,
inflammation.
Raspy voice, exactly. And we went through all the traditional medical kind of things to do, and they said nothing wrong, and then we just changed her diet.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, again, this is a conversation that hopefully we're going to be seeing more, where the doctor and the diet are coming together more, versus just here's a
treatment or a pill or a surgery.
Here's a pill to help with high cholesterol. Here's this, like, why not, let's try to prevent it from the other side. And I think diet and the food that you're putting in your body really has an impact.
Oh, sure. Sure. So now let's talk a little bit about the foods that we're putting into our bodies. A lot of times we want to cook at home, and when we're shopping in the grocery store, how do we figure out what to get and what to put together?
So, like, I, you know, picked this one up just at Kroger, and it was, you know, just for me, how many different marinara sauces are on the in the shelf. It's like a whole aisle in the grocery store. So, you know, picking this up, it was a new one from Newman's Own, Common Good, tomato basil sauce. But then when you turn it around, you start to look. Organic tomatoes, organic puree, organic olive oil, organic onion, organic basil water, carrot puree, sea salt, garlic, organic black pepper. No preservatives, no additives, no even sugar added into this.
But
it's using
organic is
and organic as well.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, organic is not necessary. You know, I think that I prefer organic if I can get it with certain products because of the way that they're farmed. So even taking it back that step and thinking about it. But what I mainly look for is just that those are all whole, clean ingredients, and you don't have any of the
pesticides,
chemicals, preservatives, and even like the binder isn't necessary in this. And what I loved about this was when you see that carrot puree, I know they use the carrots as the sweetener in this instead of adding the sugar. So that's what I really loved about that one, because they just could have easily just added sugar to balance with the acidity of the tomatoes, but instead went with the carrots to keep it super clean.
But just because it says organic doesn't make it gluten-free.
Correct.
So you have to really look for all of that.
And then there's usually a lot of times below, you see where it says gluten-free, no added sugar. It will tell you contains wheat or contains soy. So those are quick things to look for in your labels. To say if it contains soy, wheat, eggs, milk, it will have to just label it underneath the ingredient list, just kind of as a separate disclaimer. So that's what I like as well.
Okay.
Like this one I picked up. Who doesn't love ranch dressing with their salads?
Sure.
So this one is a dressing that I pick up. Now, the dressings I typically look for are in the refrigerated section.
Why?
Because they're fresh, they're real, and a lot of the ones on the shelf that are just in the aisle probably have preservatives to give them that long shelf life to where they can sit on the shelf and not go bad. So that's what I typically will go to, is look for the ones that are fresh, that are still refrigerated, because looking at this one, you've got sunflower oil, lemon juice, mustard, spices, egg yolks, black pepper, onion, garlic powder. All it contains is egg. There's no soy, there's no gluten, and there's not even dairy in this ranch. So, you know, and it's a great product. I mean, I love this dressing.
But then the downside to it, though, is that they do tend to be a little bit more costly.
Yeah, they are costly, and they do have a higher price point, and I do think it's because of the cost of the ingredients that go into them, and it might be a little bit more labor intensive to make. But again, I think that's just a personal, you know, opinion and a personal belief of, do I sacrifice, you know, long-term for short-term gains. Or
and when you get that immediate good feel, you're willing to kind of take that hit.
It definitely makes a difference over time, I think, if you just start to eliminate these things and then just see how you feel. Okay. There was a quote that I, heard from a book or something. It says, you maybe have this tree outside of your house and you might be allergic to it, but you walk past that tree every time you go to your car and it becomes the norm of how you feel, and you just are used to the itchy, runny eyes and the nose, and it just becomes your everyday norm. If you eliminate that from your situation, then you start to feel so much better. You didn't realize that you could feel that much better, and that's kind of the thing with gluten is once you eliminate it, you may have just been used to this norm, and like your mom, you just get this boost of energy, and you're like, I didn't know I could feel this good.
And I mean, she was like a kid at Christmas. She was like, oh my gosh, do you hear me? Do you hear it? I just sound so much better. I feel so much better.
Yeah.
So it was dramatic for her. Okay, so let's talk a little bit too about comfort foods. We all like ice creams and things like that. We can do it.
Yeah, you absolutely can, and even to the point of dairy-free. But there's gluten-free products, and you had picked up this one, which I thought was interesting because you can mix it, and it's like an ice cream mixer with water, right?
With water or with gluten-free alcohol, because there are gluten-free spirits that are out there, like this one, Sakari, that is a vodka that is fruit infused.
Yeah, but it's fruit infused and no added sugar. So a lot of times, even your gluten-free products are sometimes taking the next step, as to saying, we've not added artificial sugars into this, and if they're a gluten-free product, they're already maybe aware of what's going into them too. So and there you go.
Exactly. So yeah, those are the boozy creamery. And then there's Reveille. There's a gelato that is, I guess, low in fat as well as having the gluten-free benefits. So so you can actually have snacks, you can have main course, you can cook from scratch, and then you can have some dessert and a little adult dessert, I guess, at the end.
I am a huge advocate of balance.
Right.
It doesn't have to be, like you said, all twigs and sticks.
Twigs and nuts, berries,
I think there's a balance, and even, when it comes to desserts, I mean, indulge every now and then, enjoy, but just be mindful, of what it is that you're getting in your daily life.
But okay, so if I don't have time to actually make all of this, can I call you and say, Allison, besides the bone broth, can you make a meal for my mother?
Yeah, so that's our meal program that we do every week. We post a new menu of options, and we always have a chicken, a beef, a pork, fish. So there's a variety of meals that you can choose from. We do individual portions, small family portions, and large family portions. And there's no minimum or maximum. There's no contract. So you know you have a busy week coming up. You want to make sure you're eating well. You go on, you choose the meals, and then you pick them up that following Monday.
WildTimeCooking.com.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. And the price points on them, they vary?
Yeah, so individuals usually around somewhere between 14 and 16, and then small families, which feed a family like 6 adult portions, are somewhere around 75.
Okay.
So anywhere from, the larger portions I think are smaller price point per individual, but yeah, no more than $15 to $16 a meal.
And the taste for these things? It varies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess,
So like this one, I mean, there's not a lot of fancy going into that, but it's clean. We do wild-caught seafood, and this was a pistachio-crusted salmon. So we just ground up pistachios to be more like a breading, instead of using breadcrumbs. And then use just fresh lemon, salt, pepper, maybe a little olive oil, and then just let that bake in the oven or broil so that it crisps up the pistachios, gives it a little bit deeper flavor from caramelizing the nuts on top. And then that's it. So it really does give you that nice crunch. You get a beautiful piece of salmon. You know that it's, we've already done the guesswork for you, which is kind of nice.
How do you pick a really good piece of salmon? Because not all salmon is created the same.
I typically look for wild caught, and then just knowing kind of the source, a trusted source of seafood. Here in Lexington, I love Lexington Seafood Company. And again, when you're looking for those higher quality products, you're going to pay a little bit more, but again, that's just kind of a personal preference. But when I'm always looking at seafood in general, I typically go with wild caught.
Okay. And then is this apple cider vinegar?
Yeah. So I have been using this. I actually use it in my broth, and it helps to clarify the broth.
Sure.
But also, I've heard about just taking this with water.
Yes.
And you may be familiar.
Mom
but
does
when
it.
you're buying the apple cider vinegar, buy the unfiltered because it's not been processed at that high temperature.
Right.
And so you get a little bit more benefit, and they call it like the mother, where it still has a bit of the culture,
Right.
you know, in the vinegar.
Right.
So, you know, just things like that, you know, learning and knowing when you go to buy apple cider vinegar, the price point on this is really not that much different. It's just knowing what to look for, like the unfiltered apple cider vinegar to use for longevity or digestion,
Sure.
inflammation, you know, all those things.
Sure.
They kind of all tie in once you start learning about food, gluten and other products. There's other benefits as well. So I was even reading about the benefits of gluten-free, and it was aids in digestion, lowers your cholesterol, increased energy, you know, all those things kind of tie in with it. Yeah.
Exactly. You seem so passionate about it.
I am. Well, personally, I am gluten sensitive.
Okay.
And, you know, I didn't have to go to a doctor to figure it out because I just did kind of an elimination. And then it was just recently a baker came in and she brought these amazing yeast rolls, and I had to try them.
Right, right.
You know, and I
Did you get that feeling?
I can tell you my
gosh.
stomach was in knots because I had not had it in so long, and I could instantly tell how it affected my digestive system and my body. And I think it's, you know, just being aware of your own body and learning, you know, those things that are triggers.
Tell me this, if somebody needed help going and picking items at the grocery store, would you be able to help them do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it can be, it's like a jungle in there. I mean, there are so many choices and so many things, and I feel like I've kind of doubled my grocery shopping time because I'm stopping and reading and stopping and reading.
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
a big thing now, I think, Instagram.
Right.
So I've been trying to do even more just through my own Instagram pages. If I'm out at the grocery store and I notice a product, just take a picture, share it, you know, because there's so much out there that's available. So, I mean, I've started following so many food bloggers and just myself that really just, it's just there, and they'll share, and you are introduced to a new product, and yeah, so I try to do that all the time. But yeah, if there's somebody specific that, you know, just really doesn't know where to start, definitely give us a call. And like I said, we've got a couple of gluten-free classes coming up. One on paleo in particular, and then in November, the beginning of November, one on ketogenic.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it always is fascinating to talk to you because, I mean, you're a wonderful chef, but also this stuff has been life-changing, at least in my family, and I know for you as well. And I hope if somebody out there is having issues and their doctor just doesn't seem to know what to do, that they will seek you out and seek out the gluten-free.
There's power in food.
Oh,
for sure.
It is. Allison, it's always good to see you, and always good to see you guys out there. Thank you so much for watching this LEX 18 Digital Conversation. Be sure to follow us on lex18.com for more digital conversations. Until next time, I'm Dia Davidson.